Hi again. Okay, so we will get back to the child welfare system today. So over the years, there's been a growing differentiation in child abuse and how it's viewed by different individuals. So when it comes to the medical professional, they tend to look at it as though bruises, and they have to heal them. And then also as far as they look at it like treating the parent's illness. Legal professionals, be like the police, they tend to have an argument over whether or not the abuse was intentional or not intentional. So that's the way that they kind of look at abuse. And then social workers, us, we tend to look at the abuse through the family systems and the family functionings to find out why the abuse is occurring, how we can keep the individual safe, and things that we can do to make the family function successfully. So services, as far as Pennsylvania, I did mention the law earlier, but there is Pennsylvania Childline. I have the website there to access in order to make a report. So to make a report for child abuse, you could do it 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's to a trained professional. You would call in to the 800 number, and since we are mandated reporters through our position, you would want to make sure that they know that you are a mandated reporter. They'll ask for your name, and then they'll ask all the information about the child, information about their family, their address, all their demographics, as well as ask you why you're making the report and why you believe that child is being abused. Something that's important to be aware of as far as this is it's not our job to do the investigation. If we feel as though a child is being physically abused, we've seen bruises or markings, or the child exhibits some of the behaviors which I discussed earlier, it's important that we make that call and that children and youth will then investigate to determine if that child is being abused or not. I think it's tough for some people because they want to know everything before they call in. But that's not our job. Our job is to just make a report of what we are aware of and let them take care of doing the investigation piece. It's also important that we don't ask them questions, the child questions, that would lead to them saying that they are being abused. This can really alter how children and youth do their investigating. So that is how Pennsylvania handles services for abuse and suspected abuse. There also is a national hotline for child abuse. I have that number and website there as well for you because I'm not sure how different states work. So some research around the welfare system. So children welfare workers need more education on types of bruising in order to help with the identification process as if the bruise is non-accidental or not. Something that was mentioned in one of the articles I read was that children and youth workers are unsure of if the bruising is from some type of abuse or, if it could be something from an injury that they would have got while riding their bike. So that's something that would be beneficial to help children and youth workers to make sure that if they are investigating a case that they're able to know whether or not that, like what type of bruising that is. Some research also previously conducted found that many children who are victims of physical abuse did not disclose this information to staff because they believe that there is a lack of faith in the school system to fully intervene after they disclose any type of abuse. So it's really important that if if a child does disclose abuse to us, we make sure that they still are safe. So we put a plan in place in order to help prevent them from being abused even more for reporting that abuse to us. And lastly, the sooner intervention is put into place, the quicker the likelihood of the abuse stopping or decreasing. Some treatment service options again. The UK has a program which I found really interesting and very beneficial. I wish we would have something like this in the United States because I think it would really help. But I was unable to find a program in the United States. It's called Coping with Crying. It is a program that is used for parents after they are discharged from the hospital, but before their infant is 6 weeks of age. It's a program that helps to teach them how to cope with their infant crying, taking a break or taking some space, as well as giving them some soothing strategies for the baby. Since most of the abuse that happens is children under the age of 1, this program would be super beneficial to help in making sure that parents know how to handle their child when they're crying and when they're getting frustrated with them during those young stages of life. So some other interventions that can be used to work on the abuse would be multisystemic therapy, or MST-CAN. It's for youth aged 10 to 17 and a half years old. So it's not a program that we would want to use for our younger kiddos, but it is an intense community and family-based therapy program. It really works on parenting, training for the parent so that we're teaching them how to be a parent, uses some CBT skills, and then as well as puts those interventions in the school as well as in the community. MST was originally made for clients who have exhibited sexual abuse behaviors, so MST-CAN was developed in order for those kids who are experiencing physical abuse. Another intervention is Safe Care. So this is an in-home program for parents who are physically abusive or at risk of being abusive to their children. They teach 3 main skills during Safe Care groups. The first one is positive interactions with their child, recognizing when things are unsafe in the home, and responding to and recognizing illness in order to help maintain good health records for the child. Next intervention would be Alternative for Families, which is a cognitive behavioral therapy program. So this is for families who are at risk, as well as families who are physically abusive, and children who have, they also have children who have difficulties controlling their behaviors or their aggression. So the age range for this one is 5 to 17 years of age. So the victim, the child who is being physically abused, would need to be in that age. This intervention really works on improving the relationship of the child and their caregivers in order to have that positive relationship. It improves the safety within the home, so making sure that the home environment is safe, and it also works on improving the child's coping skills and their social skills, since we said that a lot of times these kids who are being abused have difficulty with social skills. Also helps, again, with teaching the parent those positive parenting styles so that we can help with diminishing or reducing the amount of physical aggression tendencies and behaviors of the parent and the child. Another intervention would be combined parent-child cognitive behavioral therapy. So this one, again, is for parents and children, where the parents engage in negative parenting strategies and the children exhibit a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, or exhibiting behavioral problems. This one is aged for some of those younger kiddos, so 3 to 17 years old, and is more of a short-term program, so it's only 16 to 20 sessions. The focus is really on CBT and including the trauma narrative and processing, so it really uses a lot of those interventions from trauma-focused CBT. Works on healing the trauma that the child has experienced from that abuse, empowering the parent in order to teach them those positive parenting skills, and then strengthening the relationship between the parents and the child. Another intervention is Nurturing Parent Program for parents and their school-age children. So again, this would be school-aged kiddos, so 5 to 12 years old, is another short-term program. It's 15 sessions, and the sessions are 2.5 hours a session. So this is more of like a group therapy thing where the family and the child would go to a location in order to attend these sessions. But it helps with the parent in increasing their self-worth, parenting empathy for the child, teaching them techniques to help with positive parenting skills, and then helps with empowerment of the parent. Something that I did like about this program was during the break time, they will have a time frame where the parent and the child will interact and play. So it's really working on having them do those like play therapy type of things so that together they can continue building that relationship, and there's a like supervisor there who's able to ensure that their interactions are positive. The last one is Parents Anonymous. This is for any caregivers, parents, or grandparents who are involved with a child who exhibits behavioral concerns, substance abuse, or has concerns regarding the child's overall wellness. It's for children who are 0 to 18 years old, and it is a prevention type of program to help strengthen for families at risk. So I think this intervention would be similar to the intervention which is in the UK, although it just extends from the age of 0 up until 18 years old. So there could be several things that would be discussed during these sessions. It is weekly support groups. They also have some in-home training, and then they have a helpline as well and extra support for the families to make sure that they are able to handle the tough situations that they're going through without engaging in aggression towards their children. So in conclusion, physical abuse in children is the second most common type of abuse that occurs. Almost half of the children who are physically abused die from their abuse, and almost half of them are under the age of 1. A substantial amount of children are experiencing physical abuse on a daily basis, and some of them are dying from it. Sorry, there's a fly. It's important that we get involved right away and help with decreasing, which is going to help with decreasing the abuse in the home. The more interventions that we can get in place for these families are really going to help in decreasing that abuse and making it stop sooner rather than later. And physical abuse can happen to any child regardless of their ethnicity or demographic location, although parental stressors will have a significant impact on the likelihood of abuse occurring. So again, those things like poverty would all be important places for us to step in to help and make sure that the family is able to deal with those stressors that they have so that they do not engage in this physical abuse. Also, if the parent had experienced some type of abuse as a child, that's also going to have a big impact on the likelihood of them engaging in abuse towards their children. Here are my references, which I have used for my PowerPoint today, my presentation. And I want to thank you all for watching my video. I hope it was informative and helped explain to you all about physical abuse and things that we can do to help stop it. Thanks so much.